My name is Patrick Foley, and this is my review of Vax for UK Film Review. This is a short conspiracy-style thriller about a vaccine that is created in the early 2000s for malaria. It's created in a sort of biolab overseen by a sort of shadowy military government figures who discover that this malaria vaccine could potentially endanger the profits of mega corporations. One of the lead scientists, Geoff, who comes across the vaccine cure, obviously wants to get it out to the world and sees the potential benefits of this new wonder drug, whereas Eric, who is more aligned to the government, fears what the consequences could be for Big Pharma. Geoff reveals the secret of the vaccine to his partner Rachel and tells her that he thinks he has to do something to protect this wonder drug, but Eric is conspiring with shadowy figures who fear the potential of the drug itself on profits, which sets the pair on a collision course which threatens the future of the planet. So just with its title alone, Vax is quite provocative and quite political. Obviously, the sort of connotations of the very word vax and vaccinations and vaccines have been a big talking point over the last few years in society following COVID. You get some people who are obviously very suspicious of vaccinations, others who are very, very pro. I am very much in the pro camp. I fully support the vaccinations programs and things like that. And so for me, when this film sort of began to roll into its fictional portrayal of a malaria vaccine from many years ago, it's set in the sort of early 2000s Bush era. It was a little bit of a relief to me that it wasn't going to be some sort of modern commentary, perhaps, that could have real world consequences. Instead, it is very much a sort of thriller set in its time. It very carefully established itself in that Bush era and quite cleverly draws line between the focus at the time on the Iraq War and how many lives that cost compared to illnesses and diseases that were ravaging the planet. And so it is its own sort of contained story within a established world that doesn't necessarily look to make commentary on the specific issues of COVID, which are still quite relevant to today's world. It instead focuses on its own storyline, its own mystery and thriller. And it is a relief that it doesn't sort of get bogged down in that kind of conversation, because as a sort of contained film, it is very good. The conspiracy it does conjure is an intriguing one. The sort of construction of the scenes are all very good. It does well to establish its own characters. It's a film that does well to construct tension. It uses sort of quite standard techniques, but to great effect in really kind of imposing a sense of danger, just for things like soundtrack and lighting. Viewers will definitely get a threatening vibe from Eric as he kind of wrestles with the moral quandary that Geoff doesn't seem to have the same problem with. The film's biggest issue is that it just feels like the middle part of a longer story. We never really get much of a sense of the relationship between Geoff and Rachel prior to a sense of threat coming into their lives. We don't get to see kind of the family life or why we should be invested in them and their relationship. And meanwhile, the film then goes on to conclude with a cliffhanger that does have kind of personal stakes, but because of that aforementioned lack of real establishment, it's not felt quite as keenly as a more sort of substantial consequence that we see actually within the film. It's almost as though the emotional conclusion is left unrevealed, but that's the only one we're really given time to sense the real stakes of. And it is a shame because even with the sort of very short runtime of just over 10 minutes, it is a film I would have liked to have seen more of. It does just have that sense that maybe there's more to this that the viewer isn't necessarily going to get, and that's a shame because this film is engaging, it's well made, it's well acted. There's a lot to like about it. It just almost feels like there's not quite enough to sort of take it home. Either at the beginning to really launch it as a great sort of establishment, or then to wrap the story up. And without that, it does feel a little bit underwhelming. But the actual presentation of what is very positive.